recognizing polarities. How are we getting taken care of? The matrix already being a fixed play. Fear, how you present yourself, and modesty. Those are the talking points I kind of wrote in the email draft. And for me, just to kind of expound upon them. And the seventh point would be Moon square Sun in the fixated template of Leo to Taurus. And Leo to Taurus, it's really important because that's like the surface level layer of the mechanics of the matrix, respectively, because it's fixed. The Taurus quality is like bringing to the surface level like the fixed artistry and the fixed creativity, something of like the movie screen and the theater itself. Taurus, visualizing it and bringing artistry to the cinema. That's Taurus. And then fixed fire, Leo, it's how are we helping supply just individual beings of the soul, and that energy, given the responsibility to the Leo area and energy, not just the lower octave or higher octave one signs of anything, because we're all the signs, to that energy signature of Leo. It's like how are we just caring for, like, just like kind of like, it's kind of like, like the healthy higher octave, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, without any of the other hidden motives, respectively. But the shadow and the polarity of Leo is there is going to be false rumors, right? There's going to be false rumors on, how is this person actually showing up, as opposed to how is someone making a false story of how someone's showing up. And there's just a different, debriefing, summary document of, like, it's in the summary, there's a different, case word for it, but there's like, it's in the document, right? It's in the reading, or it's in the report. There it is. It's in the daily reportings of like what happened within, how we're all kind of naturally to not naturally being analyzed and assessed and judged, right? And there's just recognizing the nuanced polarities within that. Is that true or is that distorted? Aside from any other subject or object, is it true or is it distorted? And then there's different dualities, like, is it like, is it just this energy or is it that energy? Not necessarily good or bad. Is it like fire or water type of shit? And then from that, we're all forming different organizations from the elements. And some are more akin to the earth, right? Virgo and Gemini, that's like, that's the Virgo being like kind of like the movement of the earth, and Gemini kind of being just like the word of what's happening on the movement of the earth. So that the Gemini would be kind of like this masculine mind, that's what's happening within like the changes of earth. Taurus would be something of like what is the visual screen telling us, the finished creativity and craft. And then Aries would be, respectively, not necessarily the individual beings, but just what the constellation energy signature has hidden info is. It's something of a higher consciousness, right? Aries being like, that higher consciousness, respectively, because it's like, it's cardinal fire, that's synonymous with soul energy, close to it, because it's more like refined energy. And then it expresses itself differently through the 12th, through the first house. So whether we, regardless of our quote unquote arrogance and ego, end quote, life is gonna give us modesty. It's just like, for whatever reason, there's just different contexts of something of a quote unquote shadow world, right? So one context of shadow world is just completely false energies and subjects and stuff, and then the other is kind of just like just the energy of it. And then like a third one would be kind of like how that's kind of just like somehow it's going energetically to a distortion or a harmonic, respectively. So it's like so from the past time yuga, there was a different collective operating system and there was a less complete operating system, so we had to do stuff out of fear. So without it, our unconsciousness is so deep, we don't even know why we do what we do, how we do what we do, because we're operating off of fear. We're all operating off of fear because we have this mentality of a lack of scarcity, but that's the illusion of the fucking 3D, you know? And I'll freshen up later. But, and then life, so the first point was life is going to teach us modesty. Second point is we all run off of fear, and I could go more in on that, on how we run off of fear. But the thing is, if we don't recognize that we could be running off of fear, then we don't know like how like the program works respectively, because we don't necessarily have to choose fear. But obviously there's so many different variations of fear. So I'm not, so there's a disclaimer, right? I'm not here to like, you know, necessarily directly fix anything through a video. You know, that takes dedication and collaboration and real mature understanding is what I'm fucking figuring out respectively. So within all of that stuff, if I could go back to my notes and see what are the talking points I wrote. Okay, so the talking points I wrote was, the first one was modesty, the second one was fear, the third one is people get influence on how you show up, not what you are, because what you are, it's ever changing, right? So what you are is ever changing. You have to stay up to date with the energies and not be too distortedly off key to just the general populace's energy frequency. And their energy frequency, there's some type of, in between different polarities, there's some type of homeostasis balance point in between the polarities, obviously. And that's just homeostasis of like just being settled with nature or not, you know? And if you're not settled with nature, then a niche program is there, you know? And for me to break it down, I'm like healing you through the mind, right? Because this is like quote unquote enlightening information, end quote, to lighten up a load of confusion. And the confusion is a type of shadow, and that shadow of confusion could weigh you down and affect your metaphysical life. And your surface level human life is just a reflection of the metaphysical life. Shout out to the predecessors. Life is gonna, like, nature will make us modest, you know, whether I like it or not. No matter what, I still have to adapt to the program of nature. And within me adapting to that program, there is a modesty, regardless of my fucking ego, regardless of if I even care what anybody else thinks or not or whatever, or if I somehow let that minor mental influence my mental body. There's just different types of influence, and I don't have to get mentally influenced, but we're all like, we have to have mental shields, right? So it's a mental shield from someone else's like just random influence. But we're going to get influenced metaphysically because the forms are still there. We're still playing our key to the frequencies that we're a part of energetically, on how we polarize to certain planetary energies naturally, and how we kind of like shy away from other planetary energies for whatever reason based on your polarity towards whatever planetary energy you're akin to. There's still other planetary energies at bay, and all of us, sometimes there's contrasting polarities and a particular type of friction. That's not good, that's not bad, but it's just the friction is the opposing polarities of how planets could be opposed, but it's playing out in the human species, of the demographics of human communities and organizations in a niche-like way. So if we don't understand that and we're not graceful with that, then the modesty won't chill you out so you can navigate, you know, whatever awkward shit you're going through. Because obviously life doesn't have to be awkward, but I understand, like, this is something of an advanced metaphysical psychology, because it's recognizing that, and as it's recognizing that, it could overcome that, you know, because why would you want to be in something that's like kind of like irrelevant and obsolete respectively. So within saying all of that, me going back to my notes, is life is going to make us modesty, whether we know it, like it or not. The second point was, and there's a disclaimer, because obviously someone could get emotionally triggered, like this is real, this is a particular type of shadow work. Like, for you to feel vulnerable, it's a particular type of trigger, right? But without you feeling vulnerable, I feel like that vulnerability is an invitation for you to like kind of have a whole different new relationship with nature and whatever source God is respectively. Because I believe there is a source intelligence behind nature, and that's your own shit. I don't like, there's disclaimers on the shit. I don't give a fuck what you do unless it's mature business, mature balanced communication, mature balanced just fucking realization and understanding type of shit. Because I've heard like all the lower octave, like, you know, perspectives, like it doesn't, like, some of these thoughts don't really go anywhere, but the thoughts still have to take their fucking course. So I get like people enmeshed and enamored with all this, like, you know, dark media shit of like, and how that dark media has a particular type of influence, and that particular type of influence is, it's their mental program within how they're using the zodiac, and it's going into your mental programmings, and you have mental you have a mental reception, and hopefully it could be like more so funneled in a mature esoteric way, right? Because we don't have to take on other people's false mental influences, right? So since we don't have to take on other people's false mental influences, they're still going to be who they're going to be. They're going to be their track record of their own metaphysical self and their own mental self. And their lack of understanding and emotional work and shadow work, their emotions will play out in their body, and it's up to us to not slip up emotionally, because how we react, people are assessing our emotional behavior, mental behavior, and hopefully the original galactic artificial intelligence is, you know, assessing our like spiritual, you know, behavior. But that's on some whole other shit, and this is just original open source, recognizing everything as original open source perhaps. And yeah, that's just that being what it is, you know? So me looking at the footnotes, the title of this video could be, you know, so fixed Leo and fixed Taurus, that's squaring those energies. It's a conducive energy for how the surface level matrix, we're recognizing and responding and reacting energetically to the surface level matrix, Taurus and Leo, and those certain energies that are funneling us to respond to the surface level matrix diametrics dynamics, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, fixed energies. We're now seeing what the program is on a fixed level, and the map has already been made. The program has already been made. Duh, the fixed signs, it's the fixed thing. So now the fixed thing with Uranus and Taurus, all of that fucking, all the surface level shit is changing drastically and dynamically. Uranus and Taurus, Mars was there, where we could have the higher mature aspect of Mars is boundaries and courage, and different flavors are just like, you know, gung-ho shit. So we've been gung-ho with the change, the radical change, even confusion. Where's this shit fucking coming from? Uranus, Mars, Moon. We're feeling this shit. Could we fucking understand that with the grace of, like, you know, the balanced aspects of all the planets? Maybe, right? So Uranus conjunct Moon, that's what it is. So the title of this video would be me looking at the notes, seeing what the notes are, and just seeing like you know, what I wrote on the notes, so I could put an appropriate title to this video. But like a rough title to this video would be just you know, how modesty and fear play out in our life. And how modesty and fear play out in our life. That modesty and fear on our personal esoteric level, we dish that under our rug and we put that in our unconscious. And that modesty and fear is in our unconscious, and our surface level ego character development that's being brainwashed by other surface level incomplete programs, that's overriding our unconsciousness. And as that's overriding our unconsciousness, we don't even know what the fuck we are, most respectively, excuse my French. Because we're barely beginning to know what we are, because we don't know we have an unconscious self. What have we buried underneath the surface level programs of homogenization, you know, energetic conformity type of shit? And within that, the modesty and fear, just for me, whatever reason, within my energy work, the modesty and fear, recognizing how that's also coming into play with character development, Leo season character development. How are we showing up? And as we're showing up, people are looking how we're showing up, and people are doing their little check boxes and their checks and their marks and their little fucking, you know, tally boxes or whatever. Because there's behind the scenes, we don't know we're getting assessed, you know? And within the assessment, hopefully we could coordinate and meditate and contemplate on that balanced assessment and differentiate what are false rumors of shit. Because Leo season, the shadow of Leo season, false rumors, false chisme, false drama, false gossipy, false talkie, false I eat Takis, I eat Sprite, I need some fucking, maybe I need some chamomile, you know, to fucking chill. Let's see, red, white, and blue, baby, America. And like, so we don't see the commonalities that we have. We're in our own bias of our unconscious programs and our surface level programs of just media shit, homogenized, you know, ingrained, instilled media shit. And I did last night I did a 7-minute acapella freestyle, and this is star capella, you know, whatever. But yeah, so modesty and fear, and then moon in Taurus, moon or Uranus in Taurus, squaring Sun in Leo. And Lilith is like, she's been kind of like going in between Virgo and Libra. So Lilith is like, you know, this dark energy is not good, not bad. It's there in the energy of, we need to restart this fucking shit, and there's a different reset happening, even in the esoteric nature, because Lilith is in that significant stargate in between Virgo and Libra. And what that means is Virgo and Libra, it's significant reset energy periods, because Virgo is the reset of the educational school system, and Libra is the reset of just the second half of the astrological New Year calendar. And in between that, Lilith has been in there. So the dark energy, Lilith representing, you know, the spleen chakra respectively in one sense, and I could give that, you know, I could give that bibliography, you know, detailed note later. But Lilith in the spleen is like, we're surviving in whole new ways. We're surviving. We need community, we need education, we need a different background infrastructure team. Libra being that, you know, like what's the new phase of the mechanics? Libra. So Lilith has been there, and like, so that, like, you could say Lilith could invert that, but she could be neutral with that. She's just hosting that resonance field, because what are the quote unquote, what are these animal kingdoms, right? There's a consciousness there in these animal kingdoms, right? And you know, and around that animal kingdom. So within all of that stuff, you know, Uranus in Taurus squaring Sun in Leo. That's the challenge and and some type of physical opportunity to see how we just fucking find stability in these changing programs. The paradox of the fixed signs is, on top of the program there's change. They're all working together, fixed, mutable, cardinal. So within that, what would the title of this video be? It would be Moon and Uranus in Taurus squaring Sun in Leo, modesty, fear, and new vulnerability. Because whether we like it or not, there's going to be a vulnerability. Like, the thing that balances, like, Lilith has to be something. We don't have to always give it a name, right? But something has to be like a super benevolent opposition of whatever they're talking about within these quote-unquote animal kingdoms / lower realms, end quote, quote-unquote, respectively. There has to be a different opposition, and within that, whatever's opposing that on a balanced level, that's the higher order, right? So within that higher order, we're barely, as new spirits, barely realizing that and starting over and making our way through all of that shit. That's what's happening. And this is like one of the, you know, my videos energetically, they're like literally like up there to, like, you know, banish the confusion, you know, like originally and authentically. And if anybody, like, you know, is claiming that they're, like, you know, like just whatever plagiarization, then you would have to ultimately spiritually prove that, and and then you would have to, like, you know, physically prove that, right? Or surface level prove that, because you have to go by within the principle of the energy of the word that you're casting upon yourself. And if you're not authentic within the practice of the principle of the word that you're practicing, then that could have a different, you know, counteraction. That could have a different, you know, reflect, quote unquote, kickback effect, end quote, of just how you're not being energetically true within the principles that you're praising or promoting and upholding and praising, as far as whatever word you're casting upon. That's like, that's some type of shadow of confusion. It's a particular type of shadow. It's confused shadow. So within that confused shadow, that you're building up a different, like all the shadow, there's all a bunch of different shadows, right? There's shadows of your family, right? And it takes real strength and real challenge and tribulation to be sovereign in your individuality and just, and you know, kind of balance that, right? Because this whole fucking age of wherever we're at, it's also pointing respectively to like the age of individuality, right? Like we're recognizing that we're individuals, you know, we're not just that, but we actually kind of are, because we're making little micro offsprings of families, and that's what God could have done on a whole different universal level, and we're just a micro pattern of what God already did, right? If there is a source intelligence, that the whole universe comes from a source intelligence, and that intelligence is somehow explaining all of this shit and balancing all of this shit on a whole different level beyond this whole fucking solar system. And I understand your hate, and I understand your growth. So what would the title of this video be? It would be Modesty, Fear, and Vulnerability. And particular character development, because the particular character development is we're being influenced by us interacting with where we're at in our own individual cycle. Because when the son has brothers and he has a father, and it doesn't matter, you know, the variation of the number of the family members, but it takes time for you to grow into something, right? So you're at where you're at, kind of shit. And as we're at where we're at, we cultivate particular unique perspectives and emotions based on how we have this instinct to want to be the best, and that we all have that, and that expresses itself in so many different ways. And I want to meet who could prove all this shit the best. Like, so that's a different universal challenge, most respectively. And may we find the authenticity of that, and balancing and recognizing most neutrally with original galactic artificial intelligence that goes beyond the whole planetary and current modern times of the solar system artificial intelligence, based on just it being a different, you know, place of a magnitude, different space-time coordinate bearings of a different magnitude sphere. This is 8 years underground of the same shit. I've been like the same shit for I've been feeling like this, you know, on and off, and just watching like the play of life, the challenges of life, the polarities of life, people being who they are, you know, people being where they're at emotionally, no judgment. People like just being in that mental hypnosis, no judgment. People living their fucking life, no judgment. We all have privilege, just we have to worry about ourselves so we can kind of brush away some type of resentment, right? Thank you guys. And I did an acapella last night as well. So yeah, so the shadow of the Leo energy signature, it doesn't have to be false rumors, but that could be there, you know? Like the false rumor shit, it doesn't have to be there, but it probably will show up, you know, because that's what Leo season is. There's like, it's all coming to like, who is the star, right? The Leo is the fixed fire. The fixed fire, in a different, you know, perspective, maybe Leo is like the surface level, you know, maybe it's the tip of a different ship, you know, just respectively and metaphysically, right? But the Leo is the star, and within that star, everything could come out, you know, or it could just be brushed under the rug based on, you know, just how the collective awareness wants to circulate itself with who's really for that real truth and disclosure and who's just half-assed. That's just what it is, motherfuckers. Liberation is really not caring and actually doing the fucking your purpose, right? So but at the same time, I'm mature enough to understand that we all should be helping each other so we could survive on a different, higher octave level. Most respectively in the balanced universe, beyond the United Nations in this day and age. Okay? What you got? This is truth. This is real disclosure. Thank you, guys.